Hello, Imma here, and today we are going to start making the actual game. So first of all, we are going to create a project from zero. So we are opening Unity, making a new project, that for testing purposes is going to be called Bonded, and let's begin to compile and import all the stuff that we are going to need for this project. So to make a recap, the first step that we need to do to make a Pokemon game is the battle system. And in order to be able to make the battle system and actually test it, the first thing that we need to do is create the database of Pokémons. So for this database, what we are going to be using is something called scriptable objects in Unity. Scriptable objects, in essence, allow us to create a static kind of database that we can reference anytime and then make the inventory-like information storage. So we can just pull off the information of the base Pokemon, and then when we create our unique Pokemon game object after we capture it, assign random IVs, random EVs, and a random nature. So to start with, I like to have my projects ordered, because with programming, as with almost everything in life, order is the best thing to get you going faster. So I have my _data folder that's going to be used for the scriptable objects, then the prefabs folder, which is going to be used for the prefabs of the Pokemon themselves, of the players, and of the houses, and any other 3D model. Then we have the audio folder for the music, sound effects, and stuff like that. The user interface, which is going to be the part of the game that we interact with in the battle systems. And inside the data folder, we are going to begin to create some subfolders. For the purpose of being able to reuse all this engine that I'm going to be programming for the Pokemon game, and avoid copyright strikes in the future if I want to make a game with this base, instead of Pokemon they are going to be named Souls in this project. Then also the status effects, the types, and the movesets. All of this is going to be a database, since we are going to use this information as base to have our specialized Pokemon, to have their own movesets. Everything is going to be pulled from this database. Then we are going to go to import some utilities that I'm using. These utilities come from a dude called Sharp Accent. He's a great programmer that has the scriptable object library, which assists you to have already some scriptable object bases. So for example, if you want to make an scriptable object of a float number or stuff like that, you already have it there. So after this, we are going to go to our scripts folder, and we are going to begin to create our basic scripts for the folders that we already made in the database section. So we need to have our Pokemon, or in this case Soul scriptable object script. Then we also need to have our Move scriptable object script. We also need to have our Types scriptable object script. And lastly, we will need to have our Status effect scriptable object script. The purpose of these 4 scripts is to handle the creation of these bases. We can see these scripts as skeletons of every single Pokemon, every single move, and every single type. They all share characteristics. So for example, in the case of Pokemon, they all have a name, they all have a Pokédex number or an ID, and they all have an attack stat, they all have a defense stat, a special attack, special defense. And this is going to serve as a basis to make the Pokémons with just a few clicks and placing the information, instead of hard coding every single Pokemon we need. So we are going to start with the most important one, which is going to be the Soul or the Pokemon scriptable object. We are going to add up the namespace of scriptable objects. Namespaces are there only to help you order more your scripts and make it easier for you to reference other codes that you already have. Then we let know the project that this is an actual scriptable object, and we want to be able to create new Pokemons just by using right click. So we are going to create an asset menu that it's going to be easy to access and easy to remember for us to add any kind of Pokemon we want. So in this case, the name of my menu is, when I right click, I will have a submenu called Bonded, and then the option to create a Pokemon, it's going to be Soul SO. Then I'm going to repeat this process with the move scriptable object and the type scriptable object. Now that this is done, back in our scriptable object script, we are going to begin to define what a Pokémon actually is, what stats a Pokémon actually use. But before that, we are going to make a little bit of testing and show you. There, I just go to Bonded, and I can create a Pokémon that fast and easily to add them to the database. So with this, I already have a really scalable and easy to use database. In this moment, as you see, the object that we created is empty. So we need to start to populate the actual information that we have for the Pokémon in this case. So, I just forgot to add up the menu asset, or the asset menu, sorry, for the moves and the types. But it's super fast and easy to create these menus, as you can see. And now let's begin to populate all the information that we need to make our Pokémons. So first we need to have a string. A string is a chain of text in programming. And this chain of text is going to be called name, because it's the name of the Pokémon. Then also they have a Pokédex description, so we want to have a string called description. Then we want our type SO, and we want to be able to pick more than one. That's why we are adding those brackets after the name type SO. And then we have the very basic data that we need for the Pokémons. And I'm going to go ahead and make the menu aesthetically pleasing, so it's easy to read and easy to add and modify Pokémon in case that I decide to release a Pokémon Maker or Pokémon Essentials for Unity. So we are going to update the script and we can see, there it says general data, name, description and types. Nice and easy to access. Then we are going to keep populating with data. We are going to separate the sections from general data in order to have it in a more ordered manner, so we can modify it easier in the future and we don't get confused with which part of information we are playing with. So now, after the spacing, we are going to begin to program or to script the basic stats of the Pokémon, which are the base attack, base special attack, base defense, base special defense, and base speed. So in this case, they are going to be represented in the way that I'm typing on the screen, which is base ATK, base SP ATK, base def, and base SP def, and lastly, base speed. All these are going to work in the future for the stats of the Pokémon, and the reason why we are calling them base is because for the final Pokémon we are going to make a formula, the one that Game Freak uses, to multiply this base by the effort values and the individual values of each Pokémon, so they can be every Pokémon can be completely unique. After adding up the space for our base attacks, our base stats, we can go ahead with the move pool. So with the move pool, we just need to create another public type of list. Whenever we add those, how are they called? Those like brackets, but the square brackets, we are saying that it's going to be a list of objects that can go to infinite. In this case, what we are going to do is to make a list on a struct way, and using this list, what we are going to be able to do is to add up all the moves that the Pokémon can eventually learn, plus the level that they need to have in order to learn this move. So it's pretty fast and easy for us to add up as many moves as we want. Now remember, this is the base Pokémon information, this is not the actual Pokémon that we are going to be using in the party. So in this case, this is the data of all the moves that our Pokémon can learn, but that doesn't mean that these are the moves that the Pokémon are going to have at the same time. We are going to go over that when we begin to create the prefabs. But by now, we are beginning to create this list, and in this list we are going to add the level needed to learn the move, which move are we going to use, and that's pretty much all the information that we need. I'm going to just refresh so I can test. There we have the types, the base stats, but the moves are not showing up yet. That's because I have not invoked these moves and have not made them, sorry, more than invoked, I have not made them available to edit in the inspector. So I just make it system serializable so I can edit them, and boom! Right now it's only an individual move. As you see, it's not a list. Right now our Pokemon can learn only one move, so we add those squared brackets, and after that we can add up as many as we want. We can say that our Pokemon can have 20 moves, and we can edit each one and single of them in there. So modifying all the stats of our Pokemons, all their move pools and stuff like that is going to be super easy, and we are going to be basically 3 clicks away of modifying any information we need. Now, before we can go further ahead and add up the information of how a type and how a move is used and which kind of information these are going to storage, we need to add up one last modificator to our skeleton of the Pokemon, and it's the model itself, because, well, a Pokemon needs a 3D model that represents it. So in this case it's going to be a game object, so we can use a prefab mesh, and we are going to have a list in case that we want to have female variation or gender variation, in case that we want to have the multiple forms like the season forms in Unova, and this is going to be called appearance. This game object is already going to be storing all the rig data and animation data of the Pokemon as well as the model. That's why we are choosing game object instead of mesh. And with this, we